Hey everybody, my name is Nick. I am Shelly Anderson's husband. You might think it might be a little difficult to be married to a relationship and intimacy expert, and sometimes it is. This is my opportunity to agree or disagree with my wife, or to just help you with your relationship, your marriage, or intimacy. I hope you enjoy.
All right. Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're well. This is my opportunity to respond to Shelly's latest podcast. It was episode number 172, Ignoring Sexuality in Marriage Increases Resentment. Oh my gosh, does it ever? And now here's the thing. I think that both spouses can ignore sexuality. And I think here, I'm going to speak to men on this one because I think it's really easy for men to begin to ignore sexuality when we feel like our wife is not interested in improving sexuality and intimacy with us. And so I think what happens with a lot of men, and myself included, I've gone through this as well, is that we get to a point where we just accept being miserable in our intimate life. We accept the fact that our wife is, and here's some thoughts that men have, okay, and don't hold this against me personally. I hope that you have a conversation with your husband about this, and maybe he'll be honest, and maybe he's a better man than me. Either way, he may admit that he has thoughts like this. Maybe sometimes he thinks, my wife is just cold-hearted. She doesn't care about me. She just thinks about herself. She is constantly putting me down for just wanting to have a physical relationship with her, whatever it is. And I think this is very common because even though that those thoughts are definitely true and very real, we also know that the reality of the truth of what she's actually thinking is probably not exactly that. I think that women definitely care about their connection with their husband. They definitely care about the sexual side of themselves, even though it might not seem like that to us. I do believe that women do care. I do believe that women like sex, and I think that women enjoy having an intimate, close, connected relationship with their husband. I just think that there's oftentimes just different opinions from the man's side and the woman's side about how to bring that relationship closer together and to become more united. And so today I'm going to talk about influence. I'm going to talk about how to influence your wife and how to influence your husband. It works both ways. And we're going to discuss the things that actually help us when we're thinking about how to influence the other, whether it's the wife trying to influence the husband into, being more emotionally connected or more sensitive or more helpful, whatever it is. And then also helping the husband to be more influential to the wife when it comes to a physical relationship, or influencing the wife to be more, to give him more affirmation or to help him feel more confident in who he is as a man, to not feel like he's constantly disappointing her, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so I'm going to talk about influence, and I'm going to talk about three common things that influential people do to influence others. Now, this could apply to marriage. It could apply to people at work. It could apply to your children, okay? So the first thing that's really important to consider is when we think about influencing other people and how to be an influential person to that individual, we want to help them think a different way, right? We want to help them think a different way about us. Now let's talk about marriage here. If I'm a husband trying to influence my wife, I want to help her think about me differently, or think about our sexual relationship differently, whatever it is. And so we have to think about how we're thinking about the situation first, right? If I want to be influential to my wife, I have to think differently. If I want her to change, if I want her to think differently about me, I need to think differently about me and her and the situation in general. And so you think about this, like if I could influence somebody, like, think about influential people that in your life. Like, how about a great, speaker like, or leader like Martin Luther King, or you think about people like Mother Teresa, right? Like, how do they influence people? Well, they change other people because they represent something that is really good. They represent something that is positive. If I want to influence my wife to be more interested in sex with me and interested in a closer, intimate relationship with me, one of the things that we have to discover is, how do I act in a way that gets them to change the way that they act. And this is not by force. This is not by control. This is by me changing who I am so that they have a different person to respond to. So if I want them to change, then I have to help them believe something different. I have to help them believe that what I want isn't just to, let's use the sexual intimate example again. I have to help my wife believe that I don't want to just be a man who gets a lot of sex from his wife. I want her to believe, and again, this is why I have to change the way that I think. I have to get her to believe that I actually do want to be close to her, not just sexually, but also emotionally. I want to be connected to her in every way. This is a game changer. You will reap huge rewards if you can help her to see that you are changing your thinking. You're trying to be a better person, that you're trying to help the relationship improve. Okay. So changing the way that you think will change the way that she thinks. And this applies to other situations as well. The second thing is that to influence somebody, you have to challenge them, right? You have to actually specifically challenge them to something new, something that may be exciting, something that's going to give them benefit, right? So a challenge I could issue to my wife is, hey, honey, let's spend time making sure that we stay close and we're constantly getting to know each other as we change and go through life, as our kids are changing, as things are happening. Like once a week, can we sit down and just talk about how things are going in our kids' lives and our lives as a married couple, and your life with your friends, all those things? And it could be more than once a week. I'm just saying, let's start small and let's build up. But you can start asking your questions, right? Curiosity and listening to other people is absolutely key here. And I'm going to talk about this in terms of a pyramid and how to influence people after I go through a couple more things here. And I'm going to show you a really easy way to think about this. But going through a process where you are showing curiosity is the key, right? Challenging your wife and yourself to find more opportunities to fulfill your curiosity about them and to learn from them is huge. You will find that you will be more influential if she sees, or vice versa, if he sees that you're interested in what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, what they're struggling with. Don't just make assumptions, right? When we make assumptions about the other, we're usually wrong. There is no doubt about that. We're usually wrong. Okay, the third thing that influential people do is we role model, right? We set an example. And so we want to set an example as to why they should behave a different way. And it gets back to the first one, right? It's very circular. You're going to be able to show them how to behave differently by setting an example of, hey, I'm going to start changing my thinking. I'm going to change the way that I am approaching my marriage. I'm going to stop blaming her without any expectation of return. I'm going to stop complaining about her. I'm going to stop saying things to my friends about her and how she doesn't put out or whatever it is. I am going to model this without any expectation of return. If I'm going to be more influential on my wife, they or she would need to believe that I'm the kind of person who would never talk bad about her. So, she's probably not going to talk bad about you either. I'm not going to blame her. And if I don't blame her, she's less likely to blame you. I'm not going to complain about her, whatever it is. So these three areas are really, really important. So when you think about it again, we change our thinking, we challenge the other person, and we model what it is that we want them to do, right? And all of these things can be done without any expectation from the other person. And if we just change ourselves, again, we're going to give her or him a different person to respond to. All right, so now I'm going to sum it up in a pyramid. I'm going to show you something that I think is really, really helpful for you to see. And this is called the connection and influence pyramid. And this is something that I have used over and over in my marriage and also with my children. And I think this works with anybody that you want to influence. Okay, so we start at the very bottom of this pyramid. Starting off is choosing to have a desire for a curious and helpful relationship with them. So we're acknowledging people as people. We are seeing them as they really are, right? Not as objects. I'm not seeing my wife as a vehicle. I'm not seeing her as an obstacle in my way. I'm not seeing her as irrelevant. I'm seeing her as a person that's just as real as me. Okay. That goes up to the next level up. And that is the listen, learn, and be inspired by others level of this pyramid. You hear about these people who are like, oh, that was such an inspirational speaker or whatever. Okay, right. Those people are inspirational for those moments. And like I mentioned, Martin Luther King earlier, Mother Teresa, oftentimes we don't have interaction with people like that. But here's the thing. True influential people are influential because they're willing to be inspired by other people. They're willing to learn. They're willing to test things out. They're willing to change. And so when we are willing to listen and learn, again, back to the example of my wife, when I am curious and I want to have a helpful relationship with her, I see her as a person. And because of that, I want to listen and learn from her. Then, and only then, will she actually be inspired by me? And will she only then will I be able to teach her? Right? I can't just say, hey, I want you to be this way. I want you to be the kind of wife that does this, this, and this, and just expect her to do it. If I want her to do those things, I need to first be willing, as her husband, to learn from her and to be inspired by her. That has to come first. And so you can see in this pyramid, being able to teach with ambition and passion to be able to inspire somebody requires you first to listen, learn, and be inspired by others. Okay. This is that recognition and support. And when your wife feels recognized and supported, she will be willing to listen to you. And whatever you're trying to influence her to do, she will be willing to listen to you. And then after that, you're building a relationship of trust. All three of these things are super important. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, changing your thinking, challenging each other, going through this process together. And then finally, having the opportunity to set an example to each other. And if you're willing to do that, you will both find a happy medium. You'll be able to work on whatever it is, right? And so I'm responding to my wife's podcast that was about ignoring sex will bring resentment. Well, ignoring anything in your relationship that's important will bring resentment, especially the sex part. Men, if you feel like you're resenting your wife because she's not willing to work on sex, well, guess what? You need to look at yourself too. You need to, look back at yourself and see how your hands are not clean, what you're doing to add to this problem. And if you're not doing these things to influence her in a healthy way, where it really becomes a symbiotic relationship, where you're both helping each other, you're both influencing each other, there's no manipulation happening, there will be way less resentment, and you'll actually be able to find common ground where you can talk about the things that you desire of each other. She wants more emotional connection from you. She wants you to focus more on her sexually instead of you just getting off. She wants you to focus more on learning about her body. She can talk to you about that. You guys can find common connection. This is one of the biggest lies in marriage, right? Marriage is just supposed to be happy. You're supposed to just be able to find joy. And if you're a spiritual person, then God will solve all your problems. Guess what? He's there to help you solve your problems, but he also has given you a brain and given you the ability to find that truth for both of you so you can both be happy. You need to do the work. You've got to do the work. If you don't do the work, you're going to be like most other married couples who grow old together, and out of loyalty and duty, they stay together. Out of morality, they don't cheat on each other. Out of their religious beliefs, they don't get divorced, and they're miserable still. Why in the hell would you stay married if you're miserable? That is not the point of marriage. The point of marriage is to find joy. The point of marriage is to find common ground where you can communicate in a way where you're both getting what you want. You do that, and you do it in a way that's not manipulative, and you will be close. You will be in a relationship that's constantly growing. It's not shriveling up and dying where you're just miserable for the rest of your lives. What a pathetic. This is what the generations in the past did, because they didn't know how to talk. I'm telling you right now, this is the way. Follow this pyramid, follow the things that I'm talking about in this short video, and you will find joy in your marriage. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. These things apply in marriage. They also apply with your children. They apply with your friends, coworkers. It doesn't matter. If you want to be influential, then you need to be non-manipulative, see them as a person, have a desire for a helpful and curious relationship, listen to them, be curious about them and the things that they can teach you. And then you'll be able to teach them the things that you feel and you want them to learn, because then it's a symbiotic thing. All right, I've said enough. God bless. Hope you all take care. I really do believe in marriage. I love my marriage, but marriage is not easy. And my wife and I have been through a lot over the years. There are a lot of haters out there that just want to make fun of people for admitting that they have a challenge in their marriage. We're embarrassed. We have shame. For whatever reason, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about sex. That's old. That's the old way. That's ignorant. Learn how to talk about it. Learn how to be close. Learn how to solve your problems together, and you will be happier than you ever imagined that you could be. Then you won't think marriage was a sham anymore. Then you won't have resentment against your spouse. All right, take care.